I've always loved clothes. I've always loved fashion since I was little, but I've always hated swimsuits. There was a total disconnect. And I've had a solid relationship with my body pretty much always. So again, I knew something was misfiring when I was putting swim on.
That's Hayley Segar. I'm Cara Duffy, and this is the Powerful Ladies Podcast. You're more prepared than almost everyone that shows up to this podcast recording. So you already get an A+.
Thank you. I try. I really do.
Well, let's jump right in and tell everyone who you are, where you are in the world, and what you're up to.
Absolutely. So hi, everyone. My name is Hayley Segar. I am the founder of Onewith Swim. We make patent pending swimsuits that fit like underwear. And I am coming at you live recorded from the Connecticut shoreline.
Amazing. So I am so excited about your product. I am currently hunting for a bathing suit myself for the new summer season. And I hate shopping for bathing suits, as I think most women do, because either you can never find the right size combination if you're getting a two-piece, or it never fits right, or you have to try an 800. You have to try not just 800 sizes, but different brands. There's a lot of frustrations in the swimwear space. What were your frustrations that led to you saying, I have to create a better bathing suit?
Yeah, my frustrations were that I hated it on the whole. And I've always loved clothes. I've always loved fashion since I was little, but I've always hated swimsuits. There was a total disconnect. And I've had a solid relationship with my body pretty much always. So again, I knew something was misfiring when I was putting swim on. And I realized after basically a lifetime of hating swimsuits, one day in April 2019, I literally said out loud, basically, like, this would be fixed if it just fit like my favorite no-show underwear did. And that was my light bulb moment, literally said it out loud. And from that moment on, I set out to create that solution for swimwear. So a swimsuit that fits like no-show underwear. So that was how we arrived to what onewith is today.
And how long has the company existed? Or when did you start this process is probably a better thing, because when it starts versus when you launch are totally different.
Absolutely. So I came up with the idea in April of 2019, and it took about 2.5 years of development to bring it to life. So we finally launched in November of 2021. So we've been in business for just about a year and a half. Actually, I think it'll be a year and a half tomorrow. So we're still pretty new, but it feels like I've simultaneously been working on onewith forever, because at this point it's been 4 years. But also like 4 years feels like yesterday. So it's this weird balance of having been working on it for a lot longer than obviously we've been at market. So it's been a journey for sure.
And did you come from a product background before you started making this product?
Yeah, so I've always kind of simultaneously worked in what I always say is fashion and social media. I worked in bridal from the time that I was 16 years old. And then I also had a YouTube channel from the time I was really young. So I have this blend of social media and fashion background, but never really in swim, and definitely not any like sort of heavy direct to consumer product e-com focus at all. So yeah, I really had to. I did know some. I had like a job briefly at an e-com website that I really, really liked, and then they kind of like shifted gears. And I ended up kind of going off and doing my own thing anyways. But I knew enough to know that I didn't know, and that's what led me to hire like a technical designer and stuff like that to help me really bring the concept from my ideas and my sketches to a factory to get it produced.
I've worked in product creation for a long time. I'm currently have a partner for an accessories travel company, and we're going through the process right now of that product creation. And it's so hard to be patient when you have your idea, you're getting your first proto, you're like, it's not right. Let's keep going. How were you able to be patient for the 2.5 years from idea to finally being able to sell it to someone?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and even just hearing you say that and, like, putting my mind and body back in that spot I was in, like, the summer of 2021. So the summer of 2021, I think, was the hardest because I had really wanted to launch that summer, like, Memorial Day weekend, um, and it wasn't happening. It just wasn't. Running into so many issues with honestly, a lot of people are like, "Oh, it was COVID, it was COVID." Honestly, for us, it was being a small business. We kept
Mhm.
getting knocked on the production schedule because our quantities weren't that high. So
Yeah.
obviously the factories are gonna prioritize bigger orders. So that's actually more than anything, and then obviously just like, R&D roadblocks too. Like, that's what led us to launch later and later, but I can't even really describe the anxiety that I had during that time period. The factory was, like, threatening to we don't work with this factory anymore. I should probably say that, like, threatening to cancel our order and stuff.
No.
Um,
Mm-mm.
so every day I woke up, to, like, different emails that put me in varying states of not feeling okay.
Yeah.
So I always said this, and I still feel like this, like, as long as I have my product here in my hands, I'll figure it out, you know? But I didn't have my product at that time. So that was really what tested my patience. I did not want to rush necessarily. Obviously, there were certain things that I was like, let's just move because,
Mhm.
they always say it's really important to get your MVP, minimum viable product, to market. Don't spend forever making perfect. I forget making it perfect. I forget who says it, but like, there's that saying, like, if you're not like a little bit embarrassed by the first thing that you launched, you'd launch
Yes.
too late. And I fully, fully, fully agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, so there was a solid amount of like, let's just get this to market,
Mhm.
and collect feedback, and also like being patient, but also coming up against these roadblocks coming at us from the factory. So, anyways, I'm talking about this at length because it was something that dominated my thoughts for an entire summer 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was really, really wild for sure.
There's so many people who have great ideas with products. And if they're a coaching client of mine, I have to tell them to be prepared to slow down beyond their wildest expectations. And that's the hardest thing to tell someone who's entrepreneurial minded because we already have the next idea. Like you probably were sitting there thinking about the next patterns and prints and styles and the other marketing opportunities. And especially when you're waiting and your social media marketing focus, you're just watching all the great events go by that you could have capitalized on. It's so frustrating. And then on top of time, when it's a tangible product, it's also money. You
Mhm.
like how much money you have to invest in a product is so hard to forecast because it all comes down to is how many of your A, B, and C plans are you going to have to activate in order to even get to market in the first time? So you
Yep.
mentioned bringing in the technical designer. Who else have you brought around yourself so that you can really bring this to life and make it the brand that you know is possible?
Yeah. So pre-launch, just to execute, uh, all I had was a technical designer because again, I think, I make this joke a lot, but it's like kind of not funny. Like, I think people think I sit in my apartment all day and like mood board. Like, that's what it's like to own a swimwear company. Like, yes, like cutting little like newspaper clippings and like being like, this is the vision for next season or whatever. Um, and it's so not it. Bringing a product to life, as you know, is incredibly technical and
Yep.
very mathy. Um, and the amount of numbers that go into a bikini top uh, is beyond wild. So I
Mhm.
knew that I didn't necessarily possess that um, know-how at that time, and I needed to bring someone on who did. And I also knew I toyed for a while with like do I teach myself this skill set right away? Like, do I go back to school? Do I go to Parsons? Do I go to FIT? Do I go to RISD? Like I live in Connecticut, so I've got New York on this side, Rhode Island, which is like another kind of design hub on this side. So I was like, do I just like take night classes or something? And then I ultimately realized if I start working with someone like a technical designer, they're not only going to bring years of expertise that I wouldn't have, but also connections that I wouldn't have or be able to forge
Mm-hmm.
as someone who's just now learning pattern making and CAD design and technical design at 20 whatever years old, whatever I was at the time. So um, I knew that that was the right choice for me. So pre-launch, it was just a technical designer. Now I still have a technical designer. I've got an email specialist, customer support. I've got like Instagram engagement help, kind of like comment management and things like that, responding to people, getting back to people. I've got a publicist who we joined the call with,
Yeah.
obviously, to start. And who you obviously know. Um, and I think that's it. Yeah, we've got an intern. It's a really small team, obviously, like shipping and
Yeah.
fulfillment, but it's really small, like really,
Mm-hmm.
really small. So, and I like it that way. I really
Mm-hmm.
do.
Well, when you have so I love that you have a team because I'm such a proponent of having people build out teams. The idea that we do anything on our own is complete nonsense. Even
Mhm.
people who have a service-based business like I do, like there's nothing I do by myself besides do the podcast live or do a coaching call with someone one-on-one. But everything else I need an army for, whether they're full-time, part-time, freelancer, or whatever.
Mhm.
Also, I'm sure like the level of decision fatigue that comes from owning a business. I laugh at myself when I'm like, I can't choose. Like my brain is done. And they're like, yeah, but it's just pick white or gray. I'm like, I literally can't.
I totally relate to that. And I love making decisions. And I think one of my best superpowers as a founder is my ability to quickly make decisions. More is lost in indecision than wrong decision, right?
Yes.
I'm going to use a million cliches on this call, but you know as well as I do, we need like little adages to keep us going, right?
Yes.
We can fall back on, but um, I make decisions really quickly. But that doesn't mean I don't get absolutely exhausted from doing
Mhm.
that. And that's actually something I said that someone called me last week and they're like, do you want to do this or do you want to do that? And I'm like, I just don't care. You pick one, and I'm sure
Mhm.
whatever you pick, it's going to be great because it's better than doing nothing, right? So
Yeah.
I have recently come up against that a few times. It was funny, like even just redoing my condo and stuff, and I still have some lingering projects. I had like someone come here a couple weeks ago to do blinds. And that was like one of the last things on my list that I bought my condo almost 2 years ago, but that was one of the last things. And she was like, wow, you like this is quick. And I was like, I just have to get it done. Like in terms, I just
Mhm.
selected a swatch and went on with it. Because again, I just firmly believe that, making a decision is better than making no decision at all. But the
Mhm.
fatigue is so there. It is so true.
I had to catch myself because I also would, my go to was always, I don't care. And I had to change my words to be like, I care about every choice we make, and I'm no
Mhm.
longer able to make a choice. So I trust you to choose. And they were like,
There we go.
okay.
And yes.
Yeah. Cause my team would start thinking that it didn't matter. And I'm like, no, 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 it matters. But like, I don't have capacity.
And let me just like put quotes around that and say me as well. Because that is really what I mean.
Yeah.
And again, if I'm saying please make the choice for me, it's because I already trust that person to do it.
Yeah.
So so yeah, I relate to that entirely.
I think the other thing about running a business and having team members is it can be really hard to find great people, and it can be really hard to train them to be mini me's and to think the way you think. So, how have you worked with your team members so that you guys are really on the same page and they can make choices for you? Because that's where I think people get stuck is we know we need a team, we know we have to delegate, but then we don't teach anyone how to make some of the choices. So, what are you doing for your team so that you can actually have the freedom to move on to all the things you have to worry about?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've implemented to move closer to that goal is telling people exactly what's on my mind. Not in the sense of like, if I have an opinion, you're going to know it. But in the sense of, hey, here's how I'm approaching this issue or this whatever, because here's how I'm thinking about it. I think telling people the the why of, again, why you're approaching something a certain way or whatever that might be helps them be like, oh, okay, I didn't get that before, but now I see where you're coming from. Not because they necessarily disagreed with me to start, but because it allows them to put the Hayley lens on it when, like, if I didn't give them that information, they wouldn't be able to do that, right? So
Mhm.
that's totally um in my control, right? Is like equipping someone with the information of like what's going through my head so that they know how I approach things. And that after a while, they'll start to see a pattern of how I approach things so that they can, at least when dealing with one with stuff, obviously approach it in a similar or complementary way. So
Mhm.
that's the approach that I've taken. Um, and again, like and to the point of, me having opinions or and sharing them or whatever, like I do let people know you'll never wonder what I think about a certain, project that you took on. I will give people their flowers to the nth degree. I will, provide feedback or criticism when appropriate. Um, I think that that makes things a lot fairer too, is if
Mhm.
you are just upfront with your team. Um, so that's kind of how I approach things to, again, get them a little bit more in my head, if that's at all humanly possible.
We do the best that we can anyway, right?
Yes, exactly.
I think also looking at the product that you've created, you're going to have challenges of solving like who's the manufacturer. The fabric is so unique, right? To make it work for what you want to do with the swimwear. The shapes and grading is another layer to it. And the hardest part of grading in any products, in my opinion, are anything bra oriented because there's so many variations and combinations. So you also need to worry about like logistics and timing, and there's so many steps. And so bravo for you for being brave enough to choose an industry that has like the most things that you have to solve and could go wrong. And I think people also forget like there's such a huge operational component to a brand like yours. You go on Instagram, it looks fun and easy, and like you said, like I'm just making mood boards over here, like no big deal, guys. Meanwhile, you're having like crazy calendar conversations every day. There's probably something that you're like, wait, why is that not solved or fixed? Are you so proud of yourself over like what you've learned and what you now have as common vocabulary that you never would have thought of 5 years ago?
It's so funny you say this. I literally got chills when you say that because that's exactly what comes out of my mouth all the time. Like I have chills. Yes, I am actually, and I will, I am because I look, sometimes I catch myself saying a phrase or a sentiment or a sentence and I'm like, a year ago, a calendar year ago, I would not have understood that coming
Yeah.
out of my mouth. And that is one of the coolest phenomena to experience as a human being, of being like, this is growth, this is evolution, this is me truly learning. And yeah, it is so freaking cool. And I hope that everyone gets to experience that, or at least have the perception to like, experience it in some sort of micro level because it is
Mhm.
so cool, you know.
Besides everything you've learned and now understand, what are you most proud of with this brand so far?
That's a really awesome question. I was just having this conversation with my business advisor yesterday because I said, I wish I was in a little bit more of a state that I could reflect and look back. And um I just feel like it's so on to the next right now with everything. And we were kind of, you were talking about it a little bit when I hopped on the call, but there is this state of like, personally, I'm in a state of constant catch up, not necessarily work, but with personal stuff. And
Mhm.
and just life. Uh, but I think in terms of like what I'm most proud of, um, is scaling this business, growing this business as a bootstrapped company. I think ultimately at the end, I think so many, and this is something I encounter, and I'm not like just making this up or pulling this out of nowhere. This is actual feedback I get. I often hop on calls of people who, um, reached out to onewith, to pitch services or whatever it is, and they had no idea that we were bootstrapped or as small as we are
Mhm.
because of the way the site looks, the way the product looks, like, etc. And that makes me happy that that's kind of the foot that we're stepping forward for women and for our customers is that they see this really solid, final, polished product. Be that the website or the product itself, whatever, but so much grit went into that. And that's what I'm really, really proud of. And that grit like gets exerted for the sake of women, across the country. And I'm just really, really proud of that effort, if that makes sense.
Has any feedback or comment from a customer made you cry yet?
Yes. Um, yes. Um, and I could get emotional right now thinking about it. You're also asking me really good questions, and it's really just tapping into stuff that is on my mind, but I don't talk about a lot. And that's always a good way to for me to get emotional. But um, I yes, I will say it's mostly in our DMs when women send us photos and they're like, I've never taken a photo of myself in a swimsuit before. Please don't post this, but the fact that I even took out my phone to
Mhm.
take this photo should speak volumes. Or people who are like, I've worn a t-shirt to the beach since I was 11, and like that sort of stuff really gets me emotional.
Mhm.
Um, and I really appreciate it. And I appreciate the vulnerability that uh has to go into just pressing send on a message like that. So yes, to answer your question, yes.
One of my big kind of coaching perspectives is that we have to know the why, the who, and the what of our business. And I think you really just spoke to three of those things in once. And that's usually the stuff that makes us emotional, like why you're making it, who you're making it for, and what you're giving them isn't a swimsuit. You're giving them a whole new opportunity for themselves, for being at the beach, for confidence, for stepping into their power. Like you're giving them a transformation, and it just happens to come by way of a swimsuit. And we forget that tangible products can have such an emotional shift for people. Um, like and it's so hard. I had the same experience where it's hard to internalize the impact you're making sometimes because you're just go.
Yeah.
There's so much happening. There's always more that could go on the to-do list. There's always more you could do for outreach or PR or marketing, always more for research. So when you actually pause and think about the true impact that you're making, it's such a humbling and empowering experience to see how far you've come and where you're going, but really the impact that you're making. How do you share those
So well said.
impacts? Thank you. How do you share those impacts with your team?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's so funny too because what I actually did the other day for one of the customer service people, because obviously the customer service inbox, although it's filled obviously with like a lot of people saying really, really nice things, there's also people being like, I hate the way this fits, and like needing to return or whatever. And we always say like swimwear is so subjective. Like that's why we offer
Mhm.
returns. A lot of swim companies don't offer returns or returns for store credit or something like that. And
Mhm.
it's like, to me, it's like, no, it's way too subjective of a thing
Mhm.
to like not, allow anything uh to come back. But anyways, I said to our customer service person the other day, I was like, I want you to see all the awesome things that are being said. So please log into our review provider and look at all of the amazing reviews that we get, because obviously she sees a really segmented part of the customer service inbox. So I was like, you gotta go see this. I promise you gotta go see this. So I gave her that login. And that's like it's not just me hopping on a call and being like, oh my God, look at this like cute DM we got. This is like a list of people saying things like, I haven't worn a bikini ever in my life. and I just posted a bikini photo on Instagram. You know, like that's the type of stuff that I want them to see in droves, you know, because that's so cool.
It's why you're doing it. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
When you hear the words powerful and ladies, do they mean something differently when they're separate versus when they're next to each other? And what do they mean to you?
I I love those two words together, first of all, because ladies to me has like a very um old-fashioned connotation in a good way. And in the sense of like normally I feel like in old-fashioned uh sensibility, the word powerful might not be in front of it. So that's why I love those two words together. So hopefully that answers the question.
Well, and what does a powerful lady mean to you? How would you define it?
I think there's something about it that definitely leans into an understanding of femininity and power in that femininity. And that's something that I've always had resonate with me in whatever form that takes. So I really relate to the title of this podcast. And I love your logo too. It's awesome. It's great. And again, plays on that kind of old fashioned sentiment while still
Mm-hmm.
being like very badass. I like it.
It was really fun to make the logo because for me, like Athena has always been like a source of inspiration of the idea of combining the commitment to learning and exploring with being strong and a warrior at the same
Mhm.
time. And when I think about, there's so many people that I'm sure you do as well. When you think powerful ladies, like you start making a list and it's like, what do they all have in common? And when I first started Powerful Ladies, it wasn't a podcast first. It was like a global event that we would do once a year. But when I would
Cool.
ask people to host, they would say, "Oh, thank you so much, but I'm not powerful." And I was like, "No,
Mm,
no, I already deemed you. Like I assigned you. I've knighted you powerful. How are we in this space where people aren't seeing that they are on a regular basis?" And most people saw it as, "I'm not there yet." And I
mm,
was like, "But like if you're there yet, then it's like you're going to die. Like that's the end."
yeah.
So what is it like to be
Yeah.
powerful like right now? And that's what
Mm,
inspired the podcast because there's so many people like yourself who are really carving an intentional path just for you. And to me, that's what power is. Like when you choose exactly what you want for you and how do you have it all for you, not your mom, your sister, your competitors, that's when you start to gain access to tables and people and conversations that we would never normally have access to because we're just staying small.
absolutely.
So yeah, it still blows my mind that I'll invite people to the podcast and they're like, "Oh, I'm not ready yet."
That's
And I'm
really,
like,
really interesting. And when you said that, I kind of took pause because it's like I'm just picture it made me like sad
yeah.
for some reason um to hear someone say that.
Hmm.
So I hope you give them, I'm sure you do, because this whole podcast so far has been kind of like a solid little pep talk therapy session almost. I'm sure you have an amazing response to them, but that does make me sad that people can't lean into like some area of power
Hmm.
to relate to find something in them that feels like a powerful lady, you know, something.
Yeah. It's very similar to me to the word beautiful. Like
Mm,
you can be beautiful at any size, any height, like
mhm,
beauty is so different than the other factors that we subdivided into. So you can be beautiful all the time. You can be powerful all the time.
agreed,
How that's showing up out in the world and to you might change and shift, but those are things that you just are if you
agreed.
allow yourself to be them. And I think that's where I such a large majority of my coaching is just giving my clients permission to be who they already are and to do exactly what they want to do.
Mhm,
And so it's like, how do we get that into schools? Like I have an
for
MBA in
sure.
entrepreneurship and I had a great program and I don't know if it would have prepared me for exactly what I'm doing now. It gave me such a huge advantage. But like we're learning so much every day and having to make decisions on the court every day. Like you have to have a business advisor. You have to have more people to bring it to life because it becomes outside of us. It's like here's this baby called the
1,000%.
business.
Mhm,
So we can't kill it. Who wants to help me not kill it? And ideally make it really successful.
Absolutely. And it's so funny that you used the term permission a few sentences ago. I'm fixating
Mhm.
on that right now because I actually said to my technical designer the other day, I said, I just need you to give me permission to feel this way or do this. Like just be like, you're
Mhm.
okay to feel like that, Hayley. And thank you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and she really means it because I know we're on the same page with so much stuff, but sometimes you really do just need permission to like even just like feel okay in thinking something or
Mhm.
vocalizing something. Um, so that's really, really interesting that you say that because I just had that conversation the other day.
Well, so as someone who has had a successful YouTube channel, you have you know marketing, you know Instagram, you know what it's like to like show the good version and then like what's happening behind the scenes.
Mhm.
How do you balance? Because I think as an entrepreneur, it's not like every day is different, but every hour can be a roller coaster. How do you balance like how you're presenting yourself and your business either to the outside world or even to your own team versus what you're actually going through in the moment?
Really good question that I'm like grappling with right now. Um, yeah, I think that um a living question, right? Because it kind of
Mhm.
depends on the circumstance and how much do you share. I know that for me, like for example, for One With, like as a public facing entity, I have very much chosen for this to not be a founder driven brand. It is not One With by Hayley Segar. It is not Hayley
Mhm.
Segar Swim. It is not my face. Actually, I cut my face off a lot on a lot of content.
Mhm.
Like I don't tag me in things like my and the team knows to not like tag me in things like I don't want it to be the Hayley Segar show. Um,
Mhm.
so I've chosen to not lead um One With as a founder driven or like face driven um, brand with me as like a talking figurehead, like across the board. Obviously, I'm happy to go on a podcast and talk about the business side of things and things
Yep.
like that. But people hear my voice a lot, but they don't always like know it's me, if that makes sense. So that's how I've sort of delineated me from One With in that way. And of course, you'll still see, like I always say, I made the suits for my body type, right? Like I am my own target customer, which a lot of founders
Mhm.
aren't, right? Like a lot of founders make a product for someone that isn't them. Like for example, my friend Jeremy invented like a toilet lift assist for the elderly, right? He's not his target demo. I always like
Yeah.
use him as my like person that I reference when I talk about that. So people know what I'm talking about. But for me, it's like I'm a size medium. I've been up and down in weight my whole life. Like that
Mhm.
is who I made One With for, right? The me's just like across the board. And
Yeah.
then again, like obviously we're size inclusive, not just size medium, but you know what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Um, it was to solve my problem initially that I knew was the problem of other women as well. Um, so that's how I've chosen to like incorporate myself. Again, like you'll see it on my body and stuff like that, but there's not a ton of like the Hayley Segar show happening on Instagram.
Mhm.
With my team and stuff, again, I'll let them know like, you know, hey, I'm really overwhelmed right now or whatever it might be. Or like you guys, like I really, really need help just executing across the board right now, balancing a lot. Like I'll say when I need extra support. I'm not sending like teary voice memos to people on my team, like, trauma dumping on them or anything like that. But I'm just like, guys, like if there's a week for everyone to like make sure all the cogs in the wheel are turning, like it's this week, like please, like that sort of a thing. Um, and they're great. They're really, really great. This isn't to say that that's not how it always is, but I'll just let people know, like, you know, need a little support right now. And just making sure that it's not all me, making final decisions or whatever that might be. So, um, yeah, it's a constant dance though, and it really depends on like the week or the day or the issue or whatever that might be. But I've chosen to keep a steady delineation between me and anything like, incredibly public facing, if that makes sense.
Totally. It's, I get a lot of feedback that a lot of my content and a lot of my coaching is very positive. It's just
Hmm.
more of who I am as a human. And I get asked to share some more of the real things that are going on also as a fellow business owner. And it's interesting to me because I'm so good at turning something into a learning exercise or what's the silver lining and just moving on to the next thing that
Hmm.
even when I'm asked, like, what's the hardest part of running the business? I come up with something so lame because I'm like, I don't remember it right now. Like, I'm so forward
Yeah.
oriented that like there'll be something totally crazy that my team will have to tell me about. I'm like, oh, right. We went through that. I already forgot about it. And I think it's especially
Yes.
running a product based business, we're building things 2 years, 6 months. Like our time and space gets so confused in that
Hmm.
because you're like, oh, we're like, I don't know what season you're planning now. How far in advance are you usually?
Mm,
What would you
mm,
like to be, I guess, right?
mm. Yeah, that's actually something we're kind of like trying to figure out our cadence on because we grew so
Hmm.
quickly. Literally starting January 1. We went viral January 6th this year. This most recent time we went viral. Like, so this whole year, I'm just like, whatever plan I thought I had,
It's gone.
like, gone. So, and I've had to like part of that has been adjusting to consumer feedback like really, really quickly, like
Yeah.
really quickly. So like anything, any collection I had planned, like everything got bumped around. So
Yeah.
ask me that question again in like a few months. For sure.
Yeah. But it's so true, right? Because it's people think building any business is linear, and it's not. Like I always say, it's like a spirograph because you start doing marketing, you come back and change the product, then you change the marketing again, then you have to change the size. Then it's constant, like new iterations of what the idea was because we're constantly trying to make it better. That's why when people say like, "Oh, I'm going to add 10 more things," I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. Like get the first one right because like, yeah, there's so many ways to expand anything. And as a product person, I love making more products, but like Coors Light has a huge $1 billion thing, one product,
Mm-hmm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what can you do with one? Because it's already enough of a story and a practice and a mastery that you have to get through. But the reason I asked how long you're kind of planning in advance is that I remember I would back in the day when we actually wrote checks. This is me dating myself. I'd be working on say fall 2018 and it would be 2016. Like I was never writing the right date. And then by the time fall 18 comes around, you're like, oh, that's already gone. Like what?
Yes. Yeah.
So
Totally.
you're just in a weird mindset. We're like, wait, it's summer. Like like you get so sucked into the business and whatever that cycle is that you
Hmm.
forget whatever is actually happening in the real world from a time perspective sometimes.
Completely. And I feel like, again, I worked in bridal from the time I was 16 years old. So when I would be writing
Mm-hmm.
dates down, I wrote, you know, if it was um, 2012, I was already writing down 2014,
Mm-hmm.
like steadily. Do you know what I'm saying? Like for like
Yeah.
all day, like more than I was probably writing the current date. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like that's been my life for the last decade plus. Like it's just like
Mm-hmm.
living in the future a little bit
Yeah.
and not always in a good way. And again, that also contributes to that, like always feeling like you're um so far ahead that you're catching up, but also like really behind and you're trying to like race forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a total you said we could swear at the top of the
Yes.
episode. It's a total mind fuck in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. Um and yeah, so it's really, really, it's really tough.
It's just another thing that we're managing that people don't think about. Like it's
Absolutely.
so that also brings up for me, like, how are you managing the rest of your life? Like taking care of yourself, seeing friends, family, relationships. Like, how are you managing all of that and running a business at the same time?
Yeah. So actually, I feel like my sweatshirt kind of speaks to that for anybody listening to audio. It says busy watering my own grass. It's from Yellow the Label. I think it's a small business, so shout out. But I have had to cut out. I've had to get back to basics. Like
Mhm.
I stopped, like, for example, like a year or so ago, I was like, I'm not watching Instagram stories anymore. Done. Like I've been stripping away these layers of just like um for lack of a better term, just like noisiness,
Yeah.
so that I can be head down and focus on my business. And then the things at a ground level in my life that need my attention and that I want to give attention to. So stripping things back so that I can be present for the things that like are essential to my core and my happiness. That and that means like, I would love to go on my credit card statement and see the last time I like went out to dinner. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like I've had to really and like sat down at like somewhere nice.
Yeah.
For like
You know
a
you're
non like
eating. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, let me say this. Like I am eating, I promise. I had a really good salad right before this. But you know what I mean? Like there's just
Mhm.
and I look at my calendar from like 2 years ago and I'm like, this was dumb. This was stupid. And no wonder
Mhm.
why you felt so burnt out.
Yeah.
So I have had to really go inwards so that I can focus on the parts of my life, um, water the grass, of the parts of my life that I feel like really, um, need that or deserve that. Um, and that's how I've chosen to do it is not like, you know, trying to make a little bit of time for that little bit of like, it's like, nope, I've cut out
Mhm.
so much so that I can just be, period. you know?
What's something that's like made it past the velvet rope? Like what's something that you have kept or leaned into more?
Question. Um, huh. Um, I was literally like, if you would have asked me 2 months ago, I would say TikTok, but I just cut out TikTok a few months ago. I don't watch TikTok anymore because TikTok was like my one thing that was like pervasive and like sneaky, and like
Mhm.
I would still do it, and like watch it until wee hours of the morning. But even then, I like stripped it back. Um,
Like is it a workout? Is it meeting with a friend? Like is
yes,
there Mhm.
working out, working out. That's actually something that I have added. It has not only made it past the velvet rope, but it's made it past the velvet rope, like, in spades. I have told myself what the problem was is, like, I wasn't, um onewith was so domineering in my life that dominating, yeah, one version of that word, um, that, I wasn't able to move my body and work out. And I'm talking, like, it's not like, "Oh, make time." No, no, no. I was up from 4 in the morning till midnight
Mhm.
at my desk, like, chained to it for all intents and purposes. There was no time if I wanted to, like, sleep for a few hours. Um, so I had to say, like, "Nope. We have to find a way for me to, like, move my body," because I
Mhm.
was in pain because I wasn't moving. So,
Yeah.
I try to work out, like, minimum 4 times a week. Um, and I've carved out my schedule to make that happen. Um, so yes, thank you for like probing that a little bit because I really did have to think about that. But that is something that again I've actually added more of
Mhm.
because of me just again like stripping stuff back.
Well, because I love the statement that if you're burnt out, it's not that you're doing too much, it's that you're not doing enough of what fills you up.
Mhm.
And I think that's the hardest. I love what I do. I love my clients. I love the work. So for me to do it late at night or on a weekend, I'm like, oh, yeah, let's do
Mhm.
that first because it's fun.
Absolutely.
And I think there's a difference between like being a workaholic and just like grinding it out versus really loving what you do and incorporating it into more of your life.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of clients that I'm friends with. Like I regularly say my dream clients are people I would want to go on vacation with and want to do more life with, not
Mhm.
just their businesses. And so there's lots of overlap in my life, which is how I want it and why I built it that way. But I do
Absolutely.
need to remember like I'm currently doing a 75-day straight commitment of working out first thing in the morning
Mhm.
because I had to look at where am I slacking off on myself and where am I making excuses that things can't happen when if I really believe anything is possible and I can make my life the way I want it. I'm just not doing it. And that was one
Mhm.
of them because it, like, I have to work out so that I feel good, so that I have the energy and all the health
Yep.
benefits that I need to do this work. But I also need to remember to choose myself. And it's so
Yes.
hard for me to choose myself because I'm such a giver and a fixer that
Mhm.
now I have to. Now it's like, nope, first it's me, then everyone else. And it's way easier said than done. But it's been a
For
really
sure.
interesting journey for me to be like, nope, we're just doing it every day for 75 days. And then you can decide what consistency looks like, but no excuses. Go.
I love that. And yeah, you like it's so vital. And even I always joke that like I'm very spiteful. I will make sure I work out in the morning like out of spite. Like
Yeah.
you are not taking this away from me. You're not. Like that's literally the way I will look at it. I'm not like a really spiteful, but you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I have to
No,
give myself
yes.
a baseline, a current to run on. And if it's
Hmm.
spite, I don't really care. Like if I'm saying like I really whatever's going on, like awesome, I'm getting to the gym.
Hmm.
Period. Um, like I get I don't think I've ever said this like publicly. I gained and lost 30 pounds in the last year because of stress and then because
Yeah.
of needing to undo that stress.
Hmm.
So
That's a big deal.
I yeah, yeah, and my body was really suffering, like really, really suffering. So
Hmm.
again, once the issue became that pervasive that it was
Hmm.
physically showing up in my body, like that's when I was like, no, 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 no. Like we're stopping this. Like no matter what, I'm at the
Hmm.
gym and I'm taking care of myself because this
Yeah.
can't go on like this, you know?
Well, I am also very motivated by the word no. And
Mhm.
as an entrepreneur, I get no a lot less because there's no boss or manager or someone else being like, that's not possible. Like you say that to me, it's over. Game over. It is happening.
Yeah.
And so I really also appreciate the running on the spike current because I totally do. Um,
Yes.
but like in regards to like the weight gain, like I remember writing down when I decided to go full-time entrepreneur, can I be a CEO and have a six pack? That was the question I asked. It hasn't happened yet. I'll get back to everyone. And like, I know it is, but like, you look at people who are so successful and who are hanging out in this higher stratosphere, not of money, but of a wealthy life and access to choices other people don't get. They are always prioritizing their health and fitness,
Mhm.
always.
Mhm.
And it's because of like, it just gives you other things. So it's really so many people I know have gained and lost weight or like lost their hair for like been losing hair because of
Mhm.
stress, and we don't take time to notice that there's so many stress signs that we're ignoring.
Mhm.
And then when you are like you lose your hair or you're gained a lot of weight, you're like, oh, like it's like weight taking the brick to hit us in the face because like the feather wasn't
Yeah.
working.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing to grapple with because you're like, it's just another thing on our to-do list then to manage, but
Mhm.
it forces you to be like, okay, I need to delegate more. What am I not doing? One of my big rules is that you can only do one project at a time.
Mhm.
And my clients fight me on it. I fight myself about it because there's so many fun projects to do. And whether it's cleaning up taxes or doing research for new collections, like, but we can only truly do one at a time. You might get 5 done in a month, but we can't do them all
Mhm.
at once. And
Right.
it's a good sign to see like where else do we need people, or like, does this really matter? Is this going to actually change the business, or do I just like organizing my office?
Yeah, facts.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely sometimes it takes things like that, like you said, hitting you like a brick,
Mhm.
to get you to have a new perspective on just the general goings on and
Yeah.
taking inventory of those like general goings on, you know?
Well, it's a great segue into I ask everyone where they put themselves in the powerful lady scale. If 0 is
Mm.
average everyday human and 10 is the most powerful lady possible, where would you put yourself today and on an average day?
I have I pretty much always feel the same level of power within me, if that makes sense. I'm pretty steadfast in it, because I'm pretty pretty much always acknowledging of my capabilities as a human, as a woman, and I can hold on to that, no matter what's happening. So, we said this is a 1 to 10 scale?
0 to 10.
Oh, sorry, 0 to 10. Let's put me at, like, an 8 steadily. I don't know if
Perfect.
that's, like, a crazy egotistical answer, but that's the one I'm giving, so
Nope, I'm just waiting for the psychology school that wants all this data for 200 and almost 50 people who have answered this question. So
That's what I was gonna say is I'm like, there's someone who's, like, taking these metrics and ranking them somehow, and I'm like, "Don't know what this means, but this is the answer that I can sleep with at night." So
they're all so interesting, and some people just give a number and don't justify. Other people really want to justify their number. I've had people say 1. I've had people say 20.
Okay,
So
we'll
it's
take 8. I think that's
yeah,
okay.
it's really interesting because this is the question that triggers a lot of people, and people, women in particular, hate grading themselves. And it's so we could unpack it for like a whole hour, just that question. In truth,
It's really, really interesting because now I'm, like, thinking about it more because it's like,
hmm
again, I know there's people, like, that I watch slash, look up to that I would consider to, like, be a 10, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm not that outwardly," but I know inwardly you know, I'm, like, almost taking an average of, like, my outer and inner score, like, confidence
yeah,
score, if that makes sense.
makes total sense. And
Cool.
we keep moving the line on ourselves also, and we have good days and bad days. So it's, I think it's really interesting when you see people that we universally are like, they are so powerful. And they're
Yeah,
like, I'm a 3. And you're like, what?
yes. Yeah, that's always a really interesting commentary too.
hmm
But I do believe it's so much of, like, how you feel
Yeah,
inside,
absolutely.
you know?
So this is also a very powerful community with lots of connectors and people who have access to things and resources. And I think we miss opportunities if we don't tell people what we need and want what we're manifesting. So what do you need? What do you
Mhm.
want? What are you manifesting? And what can we help make happen for you?
Such an awesome question. Um, so in terms of what I'm manifesting, obviously, like, other than specific, you know, like, revenue targets and things like that, I am trying to come out with a size double extra small before the end of the year. Really excited about that. Um, and in terms of, like, what I can ask from, like, the audience,
hmm
um, definitely, I've always loved Instagram as our primary community, which is why when we were, like, blowing up on TikTok, I was like, "No, no, no, come see us on Instagram, like, that's better," Like, so, like, this is more us, like, come see us
hmm
there. Um, so following us on Instagram and engaging with us there, I feel like that's where we have the most, like, meaningful conversation
hmm
and impact. Um, so getting that audience to be, um, built up is something that I'm
hmm
really looking to do because I've always really, 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 really enjoyed Instagram, onewith's Instagram specifically. Um, so that would be my ask. Other than obviously just supporting any launches and stuff like that when we do come out with that double extra small that I'm working on manifesting, however you say it. And obviously I have more like, you know, just big goals that I don't necessarily want to. I'm always,
Yeah.
manifesting something I
Superstitious
haven't
with your goals. That's okay.
super,
Yeah.
super. But just supporting when we do come out with things and you know, engaging on our Instagram, following our Instagram, because again, that's a community that like I'm really passionate about building up. Really, really
hmm
passionate. So we're at One with Swim on Instagram. If I can
I
do a
was just going
little
to ask you that. So where are all the places they can buy, support you, connect with you, reach out if they have a recommendation or an opportunity?
absolutely. We are direct to consumer for the time being. I would in terms of manifestation, would love to land like a really, really awesome big retailer next year. That's something that I am working on. Um, but we're One With Swim on Instagram, again, direct to consumer, onewithswim.com. You can also find us on TikTok, One With Swim, Pinterest, One With Swim. Yeah, that's all the things. And if you are reaching out with like any sort of inquiries, it's info@onewithswim.com.
Well, thank you so much for taking time today. It's been so nice to meet you. I've loved this conversation. I'm really excited to hear what everyone listening loved about it. But truly, thank you. You're crushing it. You're doing all the things and keep showing up, right? That's the how people survive in business is they just keep doing it and keep asking for more help and keep expanding. So you're already way ahead of the curve. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, Kara. That's so sweet. It was really great to talk to you and hearing you say so many sentiments that, again, I have had in my head but haven't necessarily vocalized. So thank you for putting words to those feelings and being so empowering as an individual. I really appreciate it.
All the links to connect with Hayley and One With Swim are in our show notes at thepowerfulladies.com. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening and leave us a rating and review. Come join us on Instagram at Powerful Ladies. And if you're looking to connect directly with me, visit karaduffy.com or Kara_Duffy on Instagram. Until then, I hope you're taking on being powerful in your life. Go be awesome and up to something you love.